Jacob Burton here from StellaCulinary.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to cook pasta at home using the risotto method. Now, the pasta alla risotto, or pasta done in the risotto fashion, solves a major problem that we have when cooking pasta at home, which is achieving those delicate glossy sauces that cling and coat our pasta ever so nicely. And the reason why is because in professional kitchens that specialize in pasta, they have large vats of boiling water that they cook all their pasta in. During the process of cooking the pasta, the starches dissolve within this water, and those starches act as a natural thickening agent and emulsifier, which holds the butter in the pasta, which holds the olive oil that's glazed into the pasta sauce, giving a delicate pasta coating that is really hard to achieve at home. Mainly because how often are you instructed to boil pasta in a large amount of water? Now, this large amount of water makes the boiling pasta more forgiving, meaning it cooks a little bit more evenly and it's less likely to stick together. But also what you're doing when you're boiling pasta in a large amount of water is you're diluting that starch that is oh so necessary to get that beautiful thin glaze. Enter the pasta alla risotto cooking method, where we actually add just enough water to cook the pasta, and we reduce this water or this cooking liquid, which can be stock or any other flavored liquid that you like, over the course of cooking the pasta. The end result is a nice, beautiful coating that's extremely versatile. And this versatility comes from the fact that you can use really any flavors or ingredients you want with this method. It just so happens that for today's technique, I decided to use some garlic cloves, shallots, a large trumpet mushroom, and the ends of my Nueske's bacon slab. The bacon slab, which can be ham or really any fatty piece of meat or any meat that you want, really, we're just going to dice up and render it down in the pan. It's going to add a nice, rich, fatty smokiness to this dish. Also, for some meatiness and umami, we're going to use the trumpet mushroom as shown here, simply just slicing the stem on a bias. And then once we reach the cap, we're going to flip that cap over and cut some horizontal slices just to even it out so it has the same thickness of the stem, which will allow it to cook more evenly. The shallot, which I'm only using half of, we'll slice, and the garlic we will mince. We'll also be using the Secco brand Orchiette pasta. I'll put a link in the description. This is a really high-quality pasta that I enjoy, but any dry pasta will work for this technique. You just don't want to use fresh pasta. If you're interested in making fresh pasta dishes, I have videos on that as well, which I will link in the info cards in this video and also in the description below. Now here I have some olive oil that I'm placing in a skillet that I've heated over medium heat. And to this, I'm going to add the diced bacon and the sliced trumpet mushrooms. And again, the trumpet mushrooms can be anything that you want them to be. Portobello, creminis, you can leave them out completely. And I'm going to push them around with my trusty wooden spoon until they form some color. And I'm going to add in the sliced shallots. Cook the shallots for 60 to 90 seconds until they become soft and fragrant. And then add in the minced garlic. Now, when you're working with minced garlic, when you first add it to the pan, you're going to notice that the aroma is very pungent and sharp. Now, as you continue to cook it over moderate heat, that aroma is going to soften and start to become a sweet, garlicky smell, and that's your cue to move on. Here I'm deglazing with some Marsala wine because mushrooms and Marsala, bacon, just a delicious flavor combination. But it can be any wine or liquid that you want. You can use water if you want to stay away from wine. I'm just going to reduce this wine and scrape all those brown nummies off the bottom of the pan, known as the fond. And always reduce your wine by at least half. I like to take it down to what we call au sec, which means almost dry. And that's going to concentrate the flavors, but also make sure that you don't have a harsh raw alcohol taste in your pasta dish, which really isn't that good. Now, once the pan is almost dry, add in your pasta and then cover with a warm cooking liquid of choice. Here I use some roasted chicken stock that we had at a gentle simmer. This is the same approach that you use when making risotto. You want your cooking liquid to be hot, so that way as you add in more cooking liquid to get that finished texture that you want, it's not going to slow down the cooking process. Now, those of you that are familiar with my F-step curriculum and approach, you know that I like to separate flavor structure from technique. So the stock, the aromatics, the bacon, that's just the flavor structure. So feel free to swap those out with anything that you want. You could easily make this vegan by just adding a vegetable stock and omitting the bacon. The technique portion is gently simmering your pasta with liquid until the pasta is done cooking and a glaze is formed. Now, this does require a little bit of finesse in the sense that you want to really time the liquid to be almost completely evaporated when your pasta is completely to your liking, whether it's al dente, a little bit past al dente. And the way that you do that is by just barely covering the pasta with your cooking liquid at first. And then when that first batch of liquid is almost gone, taste your pasta and then add a little bit more liquid as you go. So that way, when your pasta reaches that perfect consistency, you don't have a ton of extra liquid to reduce out of the pasta. Now, this process is fairly forgiving, so don't get intimidated. And it does take a little bit of time to kind of get a feel for this technique, but once you do, trust me, you're going to love it. Now, when your pasta is almost done, add in a little bit of acid just to help brighten up the flavors, just like what you'd want to do with most dishes. Here, I'm just squeezing in some lemon juice. And you'll notice that at the end here, our liquid is almost completely gone. And we are left with this beautiful thin glaze, just ever so gently coating the pasta. Now, at this point, I like to finish with a little bit of fat. Here I'm using some butter, but this could easily be a nut oil like hazelnut oil or toasted walnut oil, or just some good olive oil if you're trying to keep things vegan. And the starch molecules that are dissolved and concentrated in this glaze reduction are going to emulsify that fat and keep it from breaking. So we're going to have a really beautiful, high-quality restaurant-style pasta sauce. Finish with some fresh herbs of choice, give it a good stir. And then, of course, you always want to give it one more final taste before serving. Check for seasoning, make sure that it doesn't need more salt or more acid. And if not, then you can move on to plating. Simply spoon your finished pasta into a plate of your choice. Garnish with a grating of pecorino or Parmesan Reggiano or whatever hard, salty cheese you prefer. And there you have it. By questioning conventional cooking wisdom, we said no to the large pots of boiling water and yes to minimal amounts of liquid, which allowed us to form a delicate glaze commonly only found in specialty restaurants. And the possibilities with how you can customize this technique are absolutely endless. For more on this subject, check out my How to Cook Pasta playlist. If you want to dive deeper into using flavor structure and technique as building blocks to create your own dishes and recipes, check out my Culinary Bootcamp lecture series. And please help this channel grow by hitting the like button, subscribing if you haven't already, and sharing this video with your family and friends who love to cook.